This is Dead Serious, a show about short horror stories worthy of discussion. I'm Dead Pallet on a never-ending quest to read all of these Fleming Unit stories and critique them, which I am critically behind on. Let's get right into this one, which is Unit 120, Till Time Second. Unusual naming convention, kind of breaking the rules here, which, again, at this point, we're not really concerned with the rules of the competition. We're just concerned with critiquing the stories and seeing what they have going on and seeing how they measure up and if they work in the universe that we're trying to cultivate together. This is written by Spooky Girl 99, and let's get right into this one. We have a little preamble here. Hey guys, this is my second draft for the writing competition, Urkelbot666. Thank you for reminding me of the requirements. I believe that this is on target. I hope you all like it. So Urkelbot, very helpful, seems to be giving a lot of critique, a lot of feedback to all of the other writers that were in the project, in the competition. That's very nice of Urkelbot to do. Let's get into this. I'll let you know that my name is Mary, or was no more identity. There's not much you really need to know about me. I had brown hair, brown eyes, average figure. For the most part, I was okay with people unless they get me angry. No, bad thoughts. Anyway, have you ever had the feeling that your mind no longer belongs to you? That there is something inside of you that's slowly eating away until there's nothing left? That's how I felt when I opened my Uncle Jack's storage unit. The thing was completely stuffed. Okay, so what we're getting from the opening paragraph is that our narrator has some sort of mental issue and perhaps might be a ghost because they're saying I had rather than I have. So it seems, it's denoting some sort of loss there. And it seems that they are having mental issues, and it's bared out in the way that they're writing this when they say, unless they get me angry, no, bad thoughts, stuff like that. Alright, pressing one. Uncle Jack probably had about however many pieces of random furniture shoved in there. Seriously, you name it, it was there. Normally, I would have said, screw this, I'm going home, but since the unit was Uncle Jack's, I decided to unload it. I used to work out with weights, so it wasn't that bad. Okay, so we're getting some clunky grammar here, and I don't know what age range our narrator is, or whether English is their first language or whatnot, but it kind of seems like this needs to be structured a little bit better, even if our narrator is having mental issues, because we're getting some pretty clunky grammar here. My head started buzzing when I thought of Uncle Jack. Uncle Jack was missing. The storage unit company had tried to reach him, but he would not respond. That's why I had to unload it. I began wondering where he could be. So long story short, I spent pretty much the entire day in the effing thing unloading everything out of this thing. Not that it really matters. I would have been able to put it all in my apartment at the time. I thought I could try selling some of it for extra cash. Alright, so I think we need some more specificity here because we have this phrase, I spent much of the entire day in the effing thing unloading everything out of the thing. Thing. You gotta be careful of that kind of stuff. I was probably 3/4 of the way done when unloading the unit when stuff started to get strange. So I moved this large filing cabinet, and behind it was this tiny safe. Now, it was no ordinary safe. It was no ordinary safe. It was like the effing Fort Knox of safes. The safe had, however, many locks on the door, and about a dozen or more so wrapped around it with chains. I thought to myself, who the heck puts this many locks on a safe? I bent down to look at the thing. Fortunately, I was a pretty good lockpick. I found that part. Are you a master of unlocking? I found that part of me to be both a blessing and a curse. I finally opened the safe, and inside the thing was the sacred book. It was a book? Seriously? I thought at the time. I looked at the cover. The Hunt for Red October. I stared at the book for a while before I heard some announcement that the units were getting set to close. Crap, I thought, as I hastily got up. I ended up grabbing the book and headed out of the storeroom. I managed to organize the remainder of Uncle Jack's stuff and then headed out. Okay, so this whole paragraph is very unorganized, and I think that we're kind of missing where the mystery and intrigue could be, because when you're promising something when you put a safe there, and the safe has a bunch of locks on it, and hopefully there is kind of like that Silent Hill 3 twist of there's something anticlimactic in the giant locked safe, but instead it's just, no, I actually know how to unlock it, and we immediately unlock the thing, and we see that it's a book, The Hunt for Red October. I like the specificity of that, but then the fact that the safe gets opened up so easily kind of deflates the mystery that we wanted to really enjoy of, hunting down the keys and how does it open and that kind of thing. That could have been a fun experience, but it kind of got cut, off of the head. There's also clunky stuff like headed out of the storeroom, like, should be storage room. I'm beginning to wonder if this is an English second language or if our author is rather young. I'm not sure what's going on here, but this definitely needed a little more editing. After a while, I got back home and unloaded all of Uncle Jack's stuff into my apartment. It took forever and I was really tired. Needed strength to get it together, damn it. I got some Chinese food out of the fridge and heated it up. So that part is like supposed to be disjointed on purpose is what I'm getting, because it says I needed strength to, and it sounds like they're going to say recognize, but then it, in all caps, get it together, damn it. I got Chinese food out of the fridge and heated it up. It was quiet, just a girl in her thoughts, plus the cable was out again. Eventually, though, my thoughts drifted back to the book. I mean, at the time, I didn't understand why the hell Uncle Jack put a book into the safe and then put said safe into the storage unit behind however much crap. Out of my curiosity, I decided to take a look at the book. For the most part, it looked pretty normal, neat cover, and very few creases. The pages were the same story, very neat and in pretty good condition. Overall, the book looked really unassuming. Alright, good. The book is unassuming. There's some sort of mystery that we're probably going to get to with the book, and trying to figure that out is going to be the interesting thing that the story, where the arc of this story presumably is. But bearing all of this in mind, I feel that the aspect of the cable being out is there to facilitate the intrigue on the book. Otherwise, why would you be interested? It is kind of, our narrator wouldn't be interested, but the cable is out. I think an easier way to build intrigue around the book and to investigate it is to have them have to work to unlock the safe to get the book, and then they're like, it's just a book? Maybe there's something to the book. I think that that's a better way of building intrigue around the book, The Hunt for Red October. Besides maybe the fact that it's a good book. I don't know. I've never read a Tom Clancy story, and the only familiarity I have with Tom Clancy is the Splinter Cell games, and I don't like those. I freeze when I glance at the window. Someone had ducked down behind it. However, I could quickly make out a few details. Guy or girl was wearing a black hoodie that covered most of his/hers face. My fellow kin, no. Okay, so there's something going on here where we keep getting these interruptions, and I feel like that could be interesting. I'm just not sure where it's going exactly, and maybe I will get an idea. But this is happening all very suddenly, and I think that the pacing is kind of off. If you found someone kind of like peeking into your house, you would be a lot more disturbed to than this, and you would kind of dwell on it a little bit longer, I would think. I grabbed my baseball bat, never played, but it helped me get out of tough situations, and raced out my door, prepared to deal with this creep. By that point, he was gone. I looked left and right, but he was nowhere in sight. What the actual F, I thought, as I cautiously re-entered my apartment. I don't know that we need to censor out the word fuck. Just put the word fuck. I mean, it's fine. In terms of never played baseball, just help get me out of tough situations, it feels like you're trying to put on more of a bravado than you actually need to, or maybe this character is doing that, but it doesn't feel genuine, I would say. Okay, so after a while, I managed to calm myself down and go to sleep that night. When I woke up the next day, I started to wonder if I did see something, or if I got drunk again. Since I didn't have a major splitting headache, I assumed the former. My thoughts then drifted to how I was going to catch that creep attacking a fellow kin is, "Hein, shut the F up." Now you might say, why didn't you just call the cops? Well, to answer your question, I don't really like them. I kinda sorta got on the wrong side of the law a couple to many times, which caused me to duck and cover every time I see a guy in blue. Fair enough, that's a perfectly believable motivation. I know a lot of people who are very skeptical of the police and would prefer to avoid them. At a certain point, it would strain credulity if you continue to have a stalker. But on a one-off incident, I wouldn't be too hesitant to avoid police contact. Okay, I thought, time to think of Plan B. I then got about Hopper. Then I thought about Hopper's firearms and consignment. I'm not sure you would call it Hopper's firearms and consignment. I think you might even just say the local gun shop. The specificity would be nice if you were like, there's a local gun shop, Hopper, something like that. But I don't know that you would specify it in that way. Again, leading me to think that English is our second language or something like that. I figured that the guy probably had a Tommy gun or something like that I could use. That, and he was my only real option at the time. Apparently small towns don't do much in defense. That's not true at all. You actually have, you're more likely to find a gun shop in a rural area than you are in a heavily populated place. Gun shops, at least. You can find guns anywhere, but you'll find gun shops in more rural areas than suburban or urban areas. As I got in front of Hopper's, I started to recognize alright, time to pay a visit to Hopper's, I thought as I exited my apartment and headed toward the plaza. As I stood in front of Hoopers, I started to reconsider my options. I mean, don't get me wrong, the place itself looked nice. You got your toys, furniture, and garden tools, stuff for the whole family. It's just, I started to get cold feet, really. I mean, I never really handled a gun before. Plus, I wasn't even sure if I would be able to buy one. I didn't quite have an honor roll record. You'd still be able to buy a gun, unless you have, a documented case of mental issues, or you are an ex-felon, then, you wouldn't be able to. But it sounds like the whole wrong side of the law thing wasn't necessarily actual problems with law enforcement, more just the law enforcement officers. So maybe that's a little unclear. Is our narrator an ex-con? I stood outside for what feels like half an hour before I actually walked in. I mean, it was only a scare tactic, really. I would just buy the gun with no bullets. After all, I had my bat in case anything got too crazy. I'm not sure whether this is the narrator being naive or the author, but you shouldn't do that. You should buy a gun and bullets, and you don't need to fire the bullets. That in upon itself is a deterrence. The purpose of a gun isn't to kill people, it's to prevent people from even, threatening you. An armed society is a polite one. Second Amendment is great, blah, blah, blah. First thing I should have done before going into the store was look up where things are located. For example, I first walked into the toy section before heading into the furniture, and then I ended up back in toys again. I think it was established. I didn't flesh this out. Other people involved in the project did. But when they say consignment, it's a gun consignment shop. It's not like a pawn shop. So there aren't, toys and furniture and that kind of thing. It's just a gun shop. Consignment is just referring to gun consignment, nothing else. Furniture, then I ended up with toys again. Great. That was just how I planned my day, heading out to buy something useful, only to get lost in frozen. Holy shit? Okay. I'm not sure. The trailing off thing is kind of confusing me. I'm not sure where our narrator is going. It was my fellow time kindred that it was the guy. I know it was him. He was still wearing the same stupid black outfit from the night before, and he was right there in the effing store. Okay, I'm not sure what to make of this kindred thing, fellow time kindred thing. Anyway, originally he didn't notice I noticed him. I started thinking, perfect, this might be the chance to catch him. All I had to do was just need to make sure he didn't he started running. Had to go catch him outside. Catch me outside, how about that? We ran through, however, many aisles. Damn, he was fast. Necessary for the order. Stop, damn it, just stop. So what we're getting here with the interruptions of their own speech with the capitals is saying, I've been subconsciously programmed by this evil cult or this evil Illuminati-like organization, but I'm not sure what the purpose of it is, There's, very clear purposes to a lot of the other occult things in the world of creepypasta and online horror content. And I'm not sure that we've got a clear vision of what the purpose of this is. I chased this guy until suddenly I found myself back outside and he was gone. God effing damn it. I thought as I stormed off. After a while, I tried to reconsider my options. Buying the gun didn't work out. You see, I was chasing the guy. Some stuff got knocked down in the store. Long story short, I wasn't allowed in hoppers anymore. Just effing great, I thought as I sat on an outside bench, and there he was, again, peering behind a tree with a look that read, "She totally doesn't know I'm here." That's it. I had enough and was going to give this guy a piece of my I then saw that he got friends, lots of them. My fellow kindred came to see me. They all wanted to welcome me with open arms. They wanted me to join in. Damn. Get through this. Anyway, I got the message to get out of there. I quickly got back home and locked my apartment door. At that point, I was, honest to God, terrified right then and there. At that moment, I decided to peek through my window. Big mistake. The guy and his friends were at my window, just standing there. I could see their faces. They're not normal faces. They were gaunt, shrunken, and pale. Honest to God, they all looked dead. So, with this moment, I'm actually quite a fan, but the issue is that the pacing and the clunkiness of everything up until now really does undermine this point. I think that if we pared back all of the adult elements and just made it much more focused on this conspiracy and kind of got rid of the whole programming aspect, where they're subconsciously being programmed or something like that, and, this whole thing about their part of the kindred too. If we instead focused on, I got the Red October book, and then, I started to coincidentally notice people were following me in black hooded figures and that kind of thing. And instead of going to have this dramatic chase scene at the gun shop, they just go to the gun shop and there's your standard waiting period, or, they're being stalked in all of these other places. They go to get a burrito, black hooded figure there, the stalking aspect. And then you have all of those elements build up to, I was feeling weird and, creeped out. So I went home, and then I looked out my window and there were these people just staring at me on the outside. I think that would be more powerful. That's my, armchair quarterback kind of explanation on how I would write this. Honest to God, they all looked dead. At that moment, I quickly went into my bed, hoping that they would think I was asleep. They wouldn't. The idea of them just being outside and for some reason not coming in, this kind of like vampiric idea of they need to be invited inside is interesting, but it needs to be elaborated on if that's what's going on here. At the moment, okay. After a while, the creeps have finally left. Why did they leave? They were kindred. Kindred stay. Kindred obey. Kindred... And then it cuts off. I checked out my apartment to see if they snuck in. Thank God they didn't. I then decided to open the door with my bat in hand. No one was there. I then saw that there was a note on the door. I could hardly read it. It was like a second grader wrote it. I brought the note back inside. I could now see what it said. Give book or die till time. I spent, however, long looking at the note. None of it made any sense. I mean, give book? What book? I had no idea. Well, I don't know why you would, there's one book in the story, so, it should be obvious which book. I froze when the realization hit me, the book, The Hunt for Red October. The object that contained our salva, supposed to be salvation, thing from Uncle Jack's storage unit. I started rummaging through my apartment looking for the thing. I wasn't not the neatest person in the world. Deal with it. Eventually, I found it buried under a pile of magazines. That was what the creeps are looking for. But then again, at the time, at least, none of that really made any sense. I mean, who the absolute F would go out of their way to get a effing book that could probably, and then, that caps trails off. I ended up stopping my mental rant when I noticed something on the back page. It was a small envelope. I wound up opening it and then automatically wished I hadn't. Oof. That's a straight up open an envelope and now I wish I hadn't. It was a destiny. I found purpose. I found life. The envelope was filled with pages of I don't even know what. To be honest, they looked like something you would get if you asked Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers to draw a picture of the first thing that popped into their minds. I mean, there was one image of what looked like a clock with sunbeams shooting out of it at the top and a lot of people at the bottom writhing in agony. On the back of the page was writing, which is written in this fancy cursive style that states, "The time of reckoning shall arrive, and all those who have not completed their work shall perish. Time till. The plans for reckoning, they should be safe. Interferers shall perish. All will know the glory of..." And then it trails off. I don't like the using of, Jason and Michael Myers, that kind of thing. Like you're referencing other horror content. I think you could think of something more creative than that. And in terms of the picture itself, like the clock with sunbeams shooting out of the top of it, and people writhing in agony, that kind of thing is nice. But we don't need the direct reference to other horror icons, I ended up looking at the pages for I don't know how long before I looked back at the book. There was another envelope in it. At first, I thought that it contained more of the pictures until I read the front. "To whomever it may concern, please open this up immediately." It was in Uncle Jack's handwriting. I opened the envelope and pulled out a letter. "To whoever reads this, I know I'm done for. I've gone in way over my head and now they're after me. They have people watching from everywhere. My office, my usual hangouts, maybe my house. I pray they don't see me writing this. I should have known that taking on this case was a bad idea. Look, whoever you are, please send these pictures to the proper authorities because they need to be stopped. They are planning something big. I know it. I've been able to decipher some of the images. They describe some as some type of reckoning that will take place till time. Whenever you do not underestimate them. They may appear crass, but they are highly skilled in making themselves and other people disappear. It will be hard to find them. They never stay in one place for too long. They congregate in a town for a while, most likely to gain new members, but that's still theoretical. Then they vanish. They found the towns they visited have high counts of missing persons cases. I'll see if I can find some way to send this. In the meantime, I'll hide this letter and the images in a spot where I'm sure they won't find it. If they find this letter on me, they will kill me, and then no one can stop them. Jack Collins. P.S. Please, whoever you are, make sure that Mary Jones stays safe. She means everything to me. I could not bear to hear if something happened to her. Once you've dealt with them, please give her this message. Mary, I'm sorry I wasn't there for you when you needed me. I should have been a better uncle, and I know it. Just know that I care about you, and nothing will ever change that. So our character Jack was investigating some sort of cult, doomsday cult, that thinks that there's going to be a reckoning, and that they are recruiting members, and that they are really hard to track down, and that Jack is presumably, Uncle Jack is presumably dead, and wants Mary Jones to stay safe. This is all just happening very quickly, I guess, is my only real criticism there. Making people disappear. I would ask for some sort of proof that they're good at making people disappear, that kind of thing. Let's press on. I sat there with the letter when I noticed a small watermark had appeared on the letter. It was my tears. I was crying. Uncle Jack, why? Why sad? Be happy with kindred. All good now. Safety for all. Happiness forever. It took me a while to pull myself back together. I decided that I need to act. I figured that they definitely needed to be dealt with. So what was the master plan? I headed to the police department. Look, I know I said I don't like cops, but I figured that drastic times call for drastic measures, and a stalking cult would definite count as drastic times. I agree that is the proper protocol in this scenario. I made my way to the plaza. As I made my way to the plaza, I began doubting my plans. I could see the creeps in the background. They were hiding, and when I turned to look at them, they would duck out of sight, but they were everywhere. They should. Everywhere. Watch everyone. Out of sight. No one should know we are. I really don't know that this programming aspect being interjected is going anywhere. They were behind statues, behind corners. They walked in crowds unnoticed. I wish that they would have. I wish I would have brought my bat. That would have at least given me protection. I need to get to the station now. I ended up jogging most of the way, just to get to the station faster. So you're walking all of this way? That's interesting. And it's also, I don't think it was ever established that the station and the plaza are anywhere near each other. When I finally got to the station, I spoke with the lady manning the desk. She gave me a few weird looks. I was poorly dressed, even by my standards, and they told me to wait. Should have figured as much. I mean, Bill was probably getting high someplace. Neat was probably yelling at him for it, and Danny was probably out fishing. These were my knights in shining armors, folks. Why do you know all of the police officers by name? It's kind of weird. I'm not a fan of that. Whatever. At least in the station I would be safe from the creeps. I mean, there would be no way that they would risk blowing their cover by just strolling in. Hiding good. Keep hidden. No one must know. Secret, 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 secret. I felt for the planned container in my jacket and made sure it was still there. I was tempted to pull it back out, but I didn't want to risk letting the kindred know I have it. Why? So now we're acknowledging that we know the term kindred? Like it's unclear how this programming thing is working and whether we're supposed to know or not, or what's going on there. For a while, I was the only person in the waiting area. Eventually, an elderly couple, mother and father, stepped into the station. How do we know that they're a mother and father? That's a weird thing to assume. However, instead of heading to the receptionist, they sat down right next to me. We sit in an awkward silence until Glory Mother Mirandus, warm, safe caregiver, says, "How are you, dearie?" Okay, so it's programming stuff too. I turned to look over at her. She wore a plain white dress with matching dress shoes, Mother and Glory. She had this round face with pale blonde curly hair. Mother looked her best. All in all, she kind of looked like your average grandmother of all things in the light. Okay, I guess, I said. Is something bothering you, she asked. No, it's nothing really, I responded back. I really didn't like talking for longer than I have to, but I may always talk to my mother and father. Frowning, the woman then said, Please, dearie, you don't have to hide anything from me. Oh, okay, this woman was officially annoying. Mother not annoying, mother good, mother great, mother life. I went to tell her that I didn't want to talk when I noticed that the guy she was with. He was a tall guy dressed in all black. A dark Father Noctis, ruler of night, dark king. He had silver sliver hair that was slicked back and a rather stern face. But that wasn't what caught my attention. It was the fact that he was giving me the mother of all death glares. A never anger king of the night. We know you have it, he said in this really deep voice. Give it. I completely froze. He couldn't honestly be referring to. My thoughts broke when the woman turned to the man. Oh, come now, dearie, she said in that same sweet tone. Is that any way to treat our new daughter? New daughter, what the F was she talking about? I pulled myself together and ended up racing out of the unsafe place, ignoring the mother's desperate pleas for me to return. I ran as fast as I could. Eventually, I ended up sitting in the public area, wondering what should do. I tried dodging mother and father by going into random stores, trying to integrate myself to hide with non-kindred. It didn't work though, as I loathe non-kindred. This whole kindred thing is really confusing, and I'm not sure that it means anything. Like, if there's going to be a cult, we don't need to know the exact ins and outs of everything about it, but we know nothing about it. And all of it is being, given to us here at the end that we are getting about there being, Dark Father Noctis and, the Mother of Light and all of this stuff. The shops were closing. Maybe I could go back to the police station, I thought breathlessly. Dearie, where are you? I heard in a sing-song tone. It was Sweet Mother. Glory, Sweet Mother. I knew it. I needed to get out of there now. I bolted as fast as I could. I hoped I could make it back to the unsafe place. The kindred are back. They were coming for the embrace. Please, I didn't want to lose. I just wanted to stay me. There you are, dearie. They got me. Embrace me. I was one with the kindred, one with the mother, one with the father. Didn't want, gave permission, test of loyalty to return sacred container to unit. Must go, they family, got to place, sunk in, got to unit, placed sacred container, shall wait for no, please help, reckoning to come, time till. Alright, with the end of that story, let's read Lion O'Day's comment, because I think it's insightful as to the problems of this story. The story has some problems that could really use some work. For example, I think the idea of a cult hive mind alien is a bit too big for this contest, and I would generally agree. Maybe you could scale it down or have a protagonist only get a glimpse of what's going on, and I think that would be beneficial. The constant interjecting with comments like this is distracting and breaks immersion, I would agree. And this all stems from the major problem of having your character join the cult. If they join the cult, they can't write the story. That's very true. There's this weird contradictory thing going on throughout the story. I would suggest reading something like Shadow over Innsmouth, which does something similar. I would also agree that would be a good place for reading. This feedback is very good, and Lion O'Day also adds, I mean this with no disrespect, in all sincerity, good luck. And I would agree. And I think another big problem is the pacing of this story. Kind of seems all over the place. Something that should be given more weight and more gravity are kind of skimmed over. Some things that aren't as important are kind of dwelled on. And it's kind of unclear to, whether the cable's out. Is that going to be important later in the story? Well, not really. That kind of thing. I hope that the feedback that I've given here is helpful and constructive, and I'm looking forward to seeing this author write more stuff in the future, hopefully. With that, if you enjoyed this, please check out the Fear Fiction podcast, which is a lot more upbeat and silly, where myself, Bisme, and Slimebeast read and critique horror content from around the internet. If you haven't checked out that podcast yet, please do so. Links to it are in the description. It's a podcast that we're very big on. We love making it. And we think that you'll enjoy listening to it. So let's get on to our sponsor of the day, which is our Lord and Savior. Our Lord and Savior. Tachanka is love. Tachanka is life.